All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are uncovering the story of Mahatma Gandhi. This is a man who literally altered the course of human history, and he did it through a strategy that honestly seems completely counterintuitive: peaceful resistance. I mean, think about it. How do you defeat the world's most powerful empire without firing a single shot? It sounds impossible, right? Well, to answer that, we're going to explore the evolution of his tactical genius. We'll learn exactly how he weaponized peace to dismantle British colonial rule, proving to the entire world that true power doesn't always come from the barrel of a gun. Here is our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with the spark in South Africa, move to the weapon of truth, mobilizing a nation, the Great Salt March, independence and tragedy, and finally wrap up with his lasting global legacy. Let's follow this revolutionary idea right from its inception. Section 1. The spark in South Africa, from lawyer to leader. So, born in British India back in 1869, Gandhi actually traveled to England to study law. But his true inciting incident, the real moment that shifted his entire worldview, that happened while he was working as a young lawyer over in South Africa. He experienced the harsh, ugly realities of racial discrimination firsthand. He was physically thrown off a train simply for refusing to leave a whites-only compartment, and he had a perfectly valid ticket. This deeply humiliating experience under British rule became the spark. It completely ignited his lifelong fight against systemic injustice. Moving to Section 2, the weapon of truth, defining satyagraha and ahimsa. Now, instead of using violence to fight back, which he firmly believed only created more hatred and suffering down the line, Gandhi began developing a completely revolutionary philosophy. He called this concept satyagraha, which translates to truth force or soul force. Now, the absolutely crucial thing to understand here is that this was not about passive acceptance. He wasn't just rolling over. It was an active, highly organized, and relentless method of resistance used to persistently challenge oppression. And he paired this with ahimsa, the philosophy of nonviolence. Basically, it meant resisting oppression without harming others. He used practical, everyday tools like hunger strikes, boycotts, and civil disobedience. Gandhi proved that leaning on these moral values instead of weapons could challenge even the most heavily armed empire on Earth. It was a total game changer for political power. Section 3. Mobilizing a nation. Early campaigns in India. So, when Gandhi returns to India in 1915, he is immediately confronted with widespread poverty, massive taxes, and terrible discrimination across the country under British control. But he didn't just give grand speeches from a balcony. He actually traveled the country to truly understand what ordinary people were going through. Shortly after returning, he secures justice for the Champaran indigo farmers working under brutal conditions. Later, he successfully protests in Kedah to get taxes reduced for farmers who had just suffered massive crop failures. These early wins were huge. They showed the Indian people that nonviolent protest actually brought real, tangible political change, setting the stage for the massive 1920 non-cooperation movement. What's really brilliant about his tactics here is the systematic approach to self-reliance. He hit the British right where it hurt, their wallets and their institutions. Boycotting British goods, pulling kids out of British schools, quitting government jobs, and spinning their own handmade khadi cloth instead of buying British imports. He managed to unite millions of Indians across completely different religions and social classes into one massive, peaceful force. But, and this is a big but, he never compromised his core values. Take the Chauri Chowra incident. When protests tragically turned violent and police officers were killed, Gandhi didn't make excuses. He immediately suspended the entire non-cooperation movement, just shut it down, because he firmly believed that freedom achieved through violence would inherently destroy the exact moral values they were fighting for in the first place. Section 4. The Great Salt March, defying the empire. Fast forward a decade to 1930. Gandhi locks in on the profound unfairness of the British tax on salt. Since salt is a fundamental human necessity, this tax disproportionately hurt the absolute poorest people in India. So he organizes his most famous protest. 240. That is the astonishing number of miles Gandhi marched from the Sabarmati ashram to the coastal town of Dandi. And keep in mind, the man was 61 years old at the time. It was a grueling physical feat, but along the way, thousands of ordinary people joined him, turning what started as a simple walk into this massive rolling demonstration of defiance. And when he finally reached the coast, he didn't launch an attack or a violent uprising. He just bent down and picked up a handful of natural salt from the seashore. By doing that, he symbolically broke British law and exposed the absolute absurdity of colonial rule. This simple act captured the attention of the entire world and exponentially grew the freedom struggle, even though it led to the arrest of him and thousands of his followers. Section 5. Independence and Tragedy, the Cost of Freedom. During World War II, Gandhi recognized that British control was finally starting to slip due to the global conflict. So he launched his ultimate campaign, the Quit India movement. In 1942, he issued a powerful, definitive slogan, "Do or die." That short, three-word phrase spread like wildfire, igniting massive protests and strikes across the entire country. The demand for independence became truly unstoppable. Even though the British responded with severe repression, arresting Gandhi and a ton of other leaders, the momentum simply could no longer be contained. But here is the deeply tragic paradox of this era. In 1947, the extraordinary victory of India finally achieving independence was almost immediately overshadowed by a massive tragedy. The country was violently partitioned into India and Pakistan. This triggered horrific communal riots between Hindus and Muslims, displacing millions of people. A deeply saddened Gandhi actually traveled to the affected areas, fasting and begging desperately for peace and unity amidst all the chaos. Then, tragically, on January 30th, 1948, Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated in New Delhi by Nathuram Godse, a Hindu extremist who violently opposed Gandhi's ideas of tolerance. Despite dedicating his entire life to religious harmony, national unity, and fighting for the rights of the lower castes, whom he beautifully called Haryajans, or children of God, his life was cut short. It was an event that literally brought a mourning world to a standstill. Section 6. A lasting global legacy, the blueprint for justice. Though his life ended violently, Gandhi's life's work proved a fundamental truth. Justice and moral clarity are, in the end, stronger than weapons. His precise methodology for dismantling oppression absolutely did not die with him. It became the direct blueprint for some of the most important civil rights and social justice movements across the globe. We see his clear, undeniable influence in the American civil rights movement led by Martin Luther King Jr. and the anti-apartheid struggle led by Nelson Mandela. Today, his impact is recognized universally. In fact, the United Nations honors his October 2nd birthday as the International Day of Nonviolence. This officially cements his legacy, not just as the liberator of India, but as genuinely one of the greatest moral leaders in all of human history. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to think about. How can we apply Gandhi's teachings of unity and peaceful resistance to create lasting change in today's deeply divided world? Because this isn't just a history lesson, it's a living blueprint for dealing with conflict right now. I hope this incredible story of hope, sacrifice, and truth serves as a powerful guide for you today. Thanks for joining me, and keep seeking the truth.